Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
This episode is brought to you by Intuit TurboTax. Didn't file with TurboTax last year? That's in the past. Now, Taxes is getting the TurboTax app and filing your own taxes for free if you didn't file with them last year. File by February 18th. All tax forms, all 100% free. Now, this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. New filers and filers who didn't use TurboTax last year only must start and file your own taxes in-app by February 18th. Excludes TurboTax Live. Full terms at TurboTax.com.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Hey, Chicago. What do you say? Cubs gonna win today.
Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Pointless Exercise podcast. It's time for the baseball podcast and the Cubs podcast all at the same time. Joining me is Mike Praznowski, Oleg, and National Baseball writer David Brown. Guys, how is it going?
It's feeling very claustrophobic in here with Dave in here, but we welcome him anyways.
Yeah, people can't see it, but we have a quad box. It looks very impressive.
That sounds awesome. I'd like to,
it's like watching
I'd like to get my own quad box.
Yeah.
So the real reason we're doing this is because typically we alternate, and I lost track of whose turn it was, and thought, screw it, we'll just have everybody on, and then we'll figure it out later. But Dave, I have a question for you first. Did you get crabs in Maine?
That's Maryland, not Maine.
Crabs and clams, and yeah. We did. My family had a nice vacation in Maine, and I caught the crabs in Maine, like the T-shirt says.
Great. They have crabs in Maine, right?
They do. Yes, absolutely they do.
Of course
it's
they
more
do.
of a lobster place, but the lobster is a crab-like figure. So
A crustacean is a crustacean.
we actually went lobster fishing, so with real lobster fishermen. It was great. This guy looked like Santa Claus, and so we learned how to lobster fish, which is different than throwing a rod and reel out there.
I can imagine.
Yeah, how do you catch a big creepy sea bug?
You put on a wire a big trap, a big box. It's like a oversized shoebox, but made out of better material. And they crawl in. You fill it with the guts of other fish. And then they just kind of waddle over, and then you pull it up, and if they're inside, you win.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time on your vacation. I'm going on vacation now. It's unexpected, but Hector Neris called me and said he doesn't have anything to do for a couple of months and wanted to know if I wanted to go hang out. So I said, sure. Why not, Hector? This will be fun.
He's not moving in with you? He's not taking Teuvo Teravainen's old room that you had for him?
I'm keeping it for Teuvo. Just
That's
in case.
True. Teuvo is back.
What if he gets can he still get demoted? Is that a thing? Can he send him to Rockford?
Maybe.
It's not a Cubs or I guess an MLB podcast without talking about hockey.
That's right. Oh, then I'm a hockey expert, so I love talking hockey.
I don't have any reason to believe this, but I suspect that Hector might help some team in contention. just by accident because
Might
that's
help.
how relief pitchers are.
Might help a team get the number 1 draft pick.
No,
Is that what you're?
So I have a question. I don't know who can answer it, if anyone. So obviously there's that whole, right, his contract had that clause that if he finishes 60 or if he pitches in 60 games, nice.
right?
Had these lobster clause that if he pitches in 60 games, he gets this
clause.
vested option. And because the Cubs released him, right, they still have to pay him. But does that clause just go away? Or like if the team that picks him up, if he pitches in 60 games, do the Cubs have to pay him next year too?
That would be so great if they did.
Truly would.
I wondered the same thing. I was like, so what happens if
Right.
a team picks him up and he gets it, and then the Cubs are on the hook? I don't know.
I think it depends on how the contract was written a little bit. I think if the team they put him on waivers, right? Is that
they released him now? They
he cleared waivers.
Cleared waivers.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't think that the team that picks him up next, assuming there is one, will have anything to do with that happening.
Right. But will the Cubs?
Well, the Cubs.
Like I can't imagine.
I don't know.
But
I don't know for sure. I can't imagine it either, but I don't know for sure.
That would be pretty that would be a very dumb move if it turns out. Like they could clearly have kept him from getting his option. But
It's not like the Cubs to do dumb things like go over the luxury
by
tax
accident.
Right.
like
we're
some
over?
kind of reverse angels.
But it would be so Cub to they could make sure he didn't get there, and then instead they cut him, and some other team is like, hey, sure, and then they're on the hook.
Well, if the Cubs wanted to get under the luxury tax, like there's an easy way to do it, and that's just simply by waiving Ian Happ. Some team would pick him up.
Oh, that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the best idea I think I've ever heard. You guys talk about yourselves. I'm gonna call Carter.
Hey, Carter has no one to talk to now that Danny Parkins is out of town now. So,
they're going national.
Company.
Oh, you kidding me?
Does
Carter's
he have to leave town, Danny Parkins, to do this show, the new show, or can he do it from Chicago?
Moving to New York, the big city.
Yeah, because that's where everything happens.
Yeah.
Well, he's never going to sleep now, right? Because
he already
He's a
looks like
city
he
that
doesn't
doesn't
sleep.
Yeah.
He kind of looks like he's never slept.
Yeah.
I did learn that one of his buddies is Nick Wright. Is that his name?
Yes.
That's a person.
They're like
Why does that
best
sound
friends
like a
with each
Pink
other.
Floyd member?
That's kind of how he got connected to like this whole Fox Sports affiliation.
They worked in Kansas City together. I think there's overlap there. Nick
Yeah,
Wright,
I like that
where he went to
guy.
ESPN, was out of Kansas City, like Parkins at one time.
I like Nick Wright. I think he's pretty cool.
Agree?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
All right.
All right, so we've waived Ian Happ
Yeah.
to get under.
The
But
luxury.
what if nobody did pick him up?
That'd be pretty weird, wouldn't it?
How much longer is the contract?
2 more years.
2 years after this year.
Yeah, he gets snapped. 2 years and $40 million. Some real team would pick him up, and that would not then limit their budget having him for $40 million.
I can already see it. He's got Philly written all over him because they need outfield help desperately, and they'll be looking for one this offseason.
Well, they got a whole team full of left fielders, so he'd be perfect.
Well, they
They already had J-Hap, so they know how that works.
They already have
Exactly.
the nameplate.
Give him the same jersey. Works out. Don't have to spend any
All right,
extra
I'm gonna
money
call-
that way.
All right, after I call Carter, I'm going to call Dave Dombrowski. I'm just going to set this whole thing up.
Yeah.
You can be the broker in all this, Andy.
Yeah.
Love this.
I won't even take a fee just to get Ian out of town. That'll be good.
The coffee.
Think he'd end up on doing a cameo on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. With his electric
Part of the stand-up
personality.
Mm-hmm.
I do find it interesting, really quick, that Ian Happ has a coffee company, right? But yet the Cubs sponsor is the one that Big Cat from Barstool does.
Mm-hmm.
His coffee, right?
That may just be specific to radio, though, because I don't think you
is
see
that right?
ads for that on Marquee.
Okay.
Well, I'm sure the Cubs would be more than happy to sell Ian ads. They have no problem with that. They're not giving them away. But if he wants to buy them, go get them.
Right.
So here's a real sports radio take. Do you think cutting Hector Neris and the way they did it, and do you think that'll hurt them when they go out looking for free agents? Because of the way they treated Hector? Like people, other free agents be like, no, you guys screwed over Hector Neris. I'm not coming.
Oh, you mean from the player option thing?
Yeah.
I do think, I think that's a much more fair way to do it than to simply not pitch him. Because if they simply didn't pitch him, then there'd be a grievance filed by the union.
Right.
Yeah, well, it sounded the big brains over Bleacher Nation were very concerned that this would cause a grievance by avoiding it by releasing him.
It might, but it's sort of
I just don't think it's a thing. I think.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything.
That seems like a hard thing to demonstrate in arbitrage or whatever the term is to prove it that some kind of grievance happened above and beyond normal baseball business.
Especially if the arbiter has seen him pitch this year.
That's very fair. The one other clause in that contract, too, that I was discussing this last night on my other podcast, Bums in the Bleachers, tune in if you get a chance, that the other clause in that, in his contract that would have made that a player option instead of a team option, is that if he finishes the season on the injured list, then it would remain a team option instead of player option.
Oh, okay.
And I was thinking the entire time, there would have been a chance that they could have phantom IL'd him. If they have done that, I feel like there would have been more of a case for a grievance on the side of Hector and the players union as agent.
Well, what they should have done was that trick where Nick Madrigal walks up behind him and kneels down, and then somebody pushes him over.
Tabletop him.
Yeah, is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
If Nick Madrigal kneeled behind you, you would not trip over him.
You would just walk right on him.
He would need to put him on a step stool behind Hector and then shove him into him. And then he might hit the back of his knees then and fall over. Hector's like, oh my God, I think I stepped on a mouse. Oh, hey, Nick.
What are you doing down there? All right.
So the Cubs have moved Seiya to he's the DH now.
Yeah.
Cody Bellinger is going to be the one to catch the fly balls out in right field.
Yeah.
Obviously, it does improve their defense because Seiya was having some issues. But do we think this is them kind of embracing their fate that they're going to have both of them again next year, and they might as well just get used to Cody playing right field?
It's a combination of that, and then also trying to get PCA as much playing time in center while he's been probably on his best stretch as a hitter at the major league level he's had so far. And obviously, they have big future plans for him. So, I don't know how well PCA would have been in right field if they had flipped it around, but we know Cody Bellinger can be a serviceable right fielder from the few times we've seen him out there.
Yeah, I mean that'd just be a waste of the fastest dude around to have him playing a corner.
It's probably their best outfield configuration.
Well, they got a Gold Glover and left.
Right, I was going to say can't replace the Gold Glover.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I am looking forward to after the obvious trade of Nick Horner of Seiya seeing time at second base in spring training. I think that might be the play.
Yeah, I think he'd be excellent there. It's like right field, only shallower.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah.
The angles are the same. I don't know why more teams don't do that.
Right.
Play the right fielder at second base. It's the same thing.
Or
it's a good thought.
What they should do is, and this may go over the heads of anybody who doesn't live in Chicago, petition the league to let them play with a short center fielder like they do in 16-inch softball. And then,
is this another Madrigal joke?
Yeah.
as soon as it came out of my mouth, I'm like, am I making a Nick Madrigal joke?
You bring Lance Johnson back. That would qualify.
Interesting, or maybe not, kind of sub-theme going on here, I'm noticing. The Cubs kind of like to back themselves into corners with these contract riders or whatever, where if X happens, then they're on the hook for another year with this guy, or whatever with Hector Neris or Bellinger or the no trade clause D and Happ or whatever that was. And it's like, well, maybe if they just decided to give some more money up front, then they'd save themselves a big headache later on.
Yes, the phrase you're looking for is too clever by half. That's Jed's approach to contracts. Instead of just paying you market value and not having to give you the extra stuff that will handcuff us, we'll accept the handcuffs because we like the discount.
Yeah.
And we'll just figure it out. And then they can't figure it out over and over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, imagine giving 2-year deals to Tucker Barnhart and Trey Mancini.
Yeah.
Why didn't they give free to Trey? That's his name.
Yeah.
I guess we should Connor Lucky Stars. It wasn't a 3-year deal.
And that was just to keep their average annual value down.
But that's my question. Like with Trey Mancini, right? They gave him $17 million over 2 years, right? $1.5 million a year. Like, were they thinking that a 1-year deal had to come in at $16 million for him?
They must have.
What did they say?
Yeah, they must have. Because they're basically telling Trey, we'll give you a second year and you'll make a little extra money. Plus you'll have the security of 2 years. And then they released him on July 30th of the first year of the contract. And he hasn't played since. Yeah,
he still gets paid.
Maybe that's where Hector will go. They can hang out. They were teammates with the Astros.
Sure.
You can just go hang out on Trey's couch. How much money are you making tonight? Sitting on the couch. About $85,000. Yeah, $65 for me. Oh, good.
That works.
But that's all well and good. And it's also good that the Athletic had a thing about the luxury tax and about how the regular Cub thing about how that won't affect our approach to the off season. And of course it won't, because you weren't going to spend any money anyway. So that's why it's not affecting it. But I don't know if it was Mooney or Sada, but the Cubs are just the way they can improve their offense is catcher. That's sure, right? That's so easy to just find an impact player, a hitter at catcher. Oh, right. Of course. That's a flawless idea. How could that go wrong?
Like literally, I think the best offensive catcher available is going to be Gary Sanchez. Like there's nobody. Like
he's not doing much catching these days, Oleg.
No.
I think that's kind of my point. But like I'm good with Amaya. Like he's fine. Like he ditched the leg kick. Let him go and see what happens. They can improve in other ways. Trading Horner and getting a real second base might be.
Or what if you can get your hands on a time machine? Oh. And you go and you get Buster Posey when he's 24 and bring him back.
That sounds strategy.
I'd go for that.
That might.
Or you go way back and they could right the wrong when they didn't draft Johnny Bench.
Oh, okay. Was that like they had a chance that? Well, I mean, I'm sure a lot. That's when did Bench get drafted?
Yeah. Is Johnny Bench like the Mike Piazza of his era, where he was drafted super late, where multiple teams passed on him?
Johnny was not drafted super late. People knew Johnny was good. I mean, I'm sure they had the workout where he had he had 8 balls in his hand or whatever.
Oh my!
And they're impressed.
I'm looking at this now. Yeah,
I don't know how he got the 4 guys to stand that close to him.
I have a formula.
But Johnny had 8 balls in his hands.
That's where Silicon Valley got the idea for that joke. Sorry, that may have been.
I know exactly what you mean about how they fixed their program by whiteboarding how they could jerk off every person in the auditorium. Yeah. Johnny was a second rounder.
Oh.
And I don't remember exactly. This is what we need. Oh, first, before, I don't know how we waited this long. I'd like to, my condolences to Mike Donahue on the death of his uncle Phil.
Oh. He's going to yell at you because
the spelling, we don't spell it the same way.
Yeah.
For the first few times, I spelled his name like Donahue. Because
with an A?
That's the only Donahue I knew was Phil.
Whew.
And he corrected me. And I, Dono. Sorry.
It was one of the first things that I learned about Mike 35 years ago in college.
Johnny Bench he was the 16th pick of the second round by the Reds. The Cubs took a catcher 10 spots ahead of him, Ken Rudolph.
Oh, yeah.
So you can't argue with that. That's pretty close.
I was going to say, you must be a big fan of him, Andy, if you see where his hometown is.
Who, Johnny Bench?
No, Ken Rudolph.
The North Pole, right?
Yeah,
North
the
Pole,
North
Alaska?
No.
Rudolph?
Close enough to it. Somewhere that does get as cold as the North Pole sometimes.
The South.
Try the town that you're currently in, Andy, Rockford, Illinois.
I was going to say, is he from Platteville?
Is he?
Yep.
Ken Rudolph?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you believe
Look
it?
him up.
The pride of Rockford.
From Cathedral High School in Los Angeles, California?
But it says born Rockford, Illinois, 1946.
Well, I wasn't around. Oh, yeah, there it is. Rockford, Illinois.
This? I wonder if he hung out with the Cheap Trick guys. They must be around. Yeah, maybe they're a little older.
A little older than.
Oh no! Wait, no,
70.
The other way around.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, no, they're pretty close. I bet.
Well, yeah, I guess you're probably right. They're in their 60s, I'll bet.
Yeah.
All right, fine.
Yeah.
I'll allow it.
So the Cubs drafted a catcher ahead of Johnny Bench that, looking at his baseball reference page, could not obtain the starting job ahead of Randy Hundley.
Well, the Rebel.
Whoa! What are you saying about Randy Hundley?
Listen, he runs a great fantasy camp, and he's a great presence at Cubs games, but I think we know who we'd rather have than either of them.
I think, you had Thurman Munson, right, and Johnny Bench. Were there other great? Barry Foote was making All-Star teams.
Well, the another guy the Cubs passed up in the first round. You can't argue with their first round pick. They took the super freak. They took Rick James with the 6th pick.
Nice.
The next pick was Ray Fosse.
Oh yeah, the
think about that. Think about what happens. The Cubs could have saved Ray Fosse's career.
He could have been on the same side as Jim Hickman for that single.
Right.
Yes.
So when Jim Hickman hits the big hit and Pete Rose runs over the catcher, it's not Ray Fosse because Ray's playing in the National League.
Yeah.
Right.
Is that
John
Bill
Holland
Freehand who gets it? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know who would have got it.
Yeah, you know what? Ray Fosse, so I was thinking I'm not Barry Foote. But is Ray Fosse the same guy who choreographed the chorus line? And
yes.
Very
Cabaret?
much so.
Yep.
Same
Fosse,
guy,
Fosse,
absolutely.
Fosse. That's him. Yep. And Dave, we've already had this conversation because I'm looking in the first round. I remembered that Rick James had been picked by the Cubs. We had our Gene Lamont discussion a few weeks ago, and that's Gene went in the from Kirkland. He went to the Tigers. Another catcher.
You went totally Al Bundy after we mentioned Gene
I did.
Lamont.
And I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to tell more great high school tales. Catchers who went before Johnny Bench.
Yeah.
Ray Fosse.
Yeah.
Gene Lamont.
Sure.
The great Ken Plesha, who the White Sox drafted. He was ribbed for her Plesha. Randolph Cone of the Mets went in the second round before Johnny.
Randolph Coke?
Cone.
Oh, Cone.
Yeah.
David Cone's dad. Sure.
Either one is apropos for the Mets.
Ken Rudolph. Don Johnson. Miami Vice.
Thomas.
Yeah, went to the Braves. Douglas Carson. No, Dick Horton went one pick ahead. The Orioles took Dick Horton. So what is it? That's like Johnny was like the 8th catcher taken.
Sure.
In that draft.
So there is a little bit of
good
lore
scout
with Johnny Bench there.
I guess.
Did you know that Rick James, I don't know if it's the same one that got who the Cubs picked, but Rick James is Canadian and spent some time in a band with Neil Young?
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Was he
some weird and wild stuff.
Was he fleeing Vietnam or is he really Canadian? You know
Actually, that's a really good question. I feel like he may have been fleeing Vietnam now that you mention it, but I could be wrong. Neil Young is Canadian.
He is. Yeah. So is Gordon Lightfoot. Are we just naming Canadians?
Not anymore, he isn't.
No.
I guess he still is Canadian, but he's not. He isn't.
It's Canadian till you die, not after. As we speak, Javi just got a loving ovation from the crowd, and it's weird that this is his return, considering the Tigers didn't come 2 years ago?
Maybe he was hurt.
Yeah, it could be.
Well, it was last.
Rizzo hasn't been back yet, right? Either. Rizzo will be back later this year for the first
Rizzo
time.
might not even make it. He's on the 60-day injured list now. Broken arm earlier this year, but it wasn't until last season that they made it where every team plays everyone. So
that's true.
It was. I don't know what AL division the Cubs would have played in 2022, but probably not the Central.
All right, so David, I want to ask you this question: the commissioner, our buddy, Rob Manfred, or as Bruce Levine likes to call him, Tobe Manfred, is kicking around an idea that they're going to somehow institute a rule that will mandate your starting pitcher pitches 6 innings. How the hell would they do that?
Well, there are exceptions carved out already, so it is perhaps a little bit of an overstatement. If you give up too many runs or something else, I don't know. I mean,
if you leave with an injury, you have to go on the injured list.
So,
right.
Yeah.
So you can't fake an injury unless you want him to sit out 15 days.
Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Love, exciting and new. Hello, Hannah Waddingham here. Have you seen the fabulous new Sun Princess? World-class entertainment, exceptional dining, and the greatest pizza ever. It's alive.
Don't miss our Come Aboard sale with up to 40% off and free room upgrades. Visit princess.com or call your travel advisor to book. Princess Cruises. Terms and restrictions apply. Offer ends 2/28/25. Ships at Bermudan and British Registry.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
This is not the double hook. This is not you tie the pitcher to the DH. And if you take him out, you lose the DH.
Isn't that still in play as a possibility?
Jason Stark's keeping that one alive. He likes that.
Oh,
I think it might even been his idea. That one once you get to the 7th, then that falls away. The DH. If you make it to the 7th with the starter in, then you keep your DH for the rest of the game.
Aside from all the other unintended or don't give a shit consequences, it's not going to accomplish what they want it to. I mean, people are still going to, it's not like now no one will try and throw 102 when you should only throw 98. The pitchers are still going to be doing that. It's not really well thought out. And that's not atypical for some of these ideas, but he's had so many things happen, so many ideas, whether they're his or somebody else's, and they've made the changes, and some of them even work, but he's emboldened by the recent changes. So just because it's a terrible idea and everybody can see that doesn't mean it isn't necessarily going to happen. So we should be afraid a little, but it's not, it doesn't do what they set out. And there's lots of other bad reasons for it too.
I would be I'd be shocked if the union didn't strongly oppose something like that.
It would be about time for the union to strongly do something, but
yeah, touche.
Object strenuously.
Write a strongly worded email.
I will say this: I'd be for some type of rule that would finally put an end to openers. I think that, having to watch that type of game where it's, inning by inning, a new pitcher, is just...
Well, that's just a bullpen game. It's different than an opener.
Well, still, but I mean, I don't know. Like, what are you afraid of by throwing a guy, the first at least 3 innings, we'd say?
Because there's not enough starters. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, there aren't enough starters. Because pitchers are getting hurt. And, maybe it's just me. I don't really understand what the big deal is. Like, what if pitchers or starters don't go as long? Like, I
feel like this comes from a place where we don't have enough guys going for no-hitters or something like that, or complete games. I think that's where it's like, well, we don't have enough pitchers to do that. So let's completely change the mechanics of how we do it. And then maybe by a byproduct of that, we'll have more guys throwing no-hitters someday. I can't help but think that that's where the impetus comes from.
But it's only 6 innings, right? You're making starters go 6 innings, so it's like you're still going to have pitchers going out in the 8th if they're throwing a no-hitter. Like, it's not. Maybe I'm just missing. I don't see what the big deal is. I don't understand why currently, like the current pitching, like the pitchers are getting hurt a lot more, right? And they're not really sure why. I mean, there's the whole velocity thing, but how does this help with that?
Yeah, there's a theory, and I don't think it's a very well thought out theory, but there's a theory that if starting pitchers had to go longer, they would have to sacrifice velocity to get through the 6 innings, which could take some of the stress off their arms.
Is it not fun?
But I don't know. But I don't know that. I don't know that would be true. That's like
anecdotally. Now this is just one person. I've heard Justin Verlander talk about this, and he says that he is a guy, and I don't even know if this is backed up with data, but it's from his recollection. He's never been a guy that's gone all out in the first few innings. Yeah. And he's saved his bullets for later, generally speaking. More it's like a way to get warmed up beyond the bullpen before the game. It's a kind of easing yourself into the game. So from Verlander's perspective, he thinks that is a thing.
Yeah.
And could be a thing with more pitchers.
But aren't you running the risk of getting hit harder earlier on, therefore not having the chance to go deeper into games?
Again, I don't know if it's backed up with data, but it always seemed like with Verlander and even Roger Clemens. I remember when Roger Clemens would make a start in the 80s, people would say, well, you got to get to him early because he's not quite locked in or whatever. And I think it's kind of related to that. Now, how true all that is, really, I don't know. But I think people think it's true.
They used to say the same thing about Greg Maddux. Got to get to him early.
They would say that about Darvish as well, too.
Yeah.
I would say it maybe would combat like the entire theory of like you can't let a pitcher go more than 3 times through a batting order if they're going to see a completely different repertoire as they would see their first, 1 or 2 times through. So,
but I don't know what the big deal. Like, so what if starters aren't going 7 innings anymore? Like, how does that take away from the game? What am I missing?
Yeah, it'd be a lot less Porter Hodge. I think we all love to watch Porter Hodge. So I want more Porter Hodge. So I want less innings from the start.
Is that a Goose Island?
Bourbon Porter Hodge. I think it's kind of like, okay, pitching injuries suck, and they make me do dumb trades in my fantasy leagues. But it's fun seeing a pitcher throw 101 miles an hour. Yeah. It's fun seeing a hitter try to hit that. Like, it's fun seeing that. Like,
if I was going to reverse engineer this, I would think that this is from owners bitching to Manfred. About Manfred, I'm turning it to Bruce. About paying pitchers and them getting hurt because they don't like to pay guys who don't pitch, and them coming up with an idea that makes no sense to fix it. I get the feeling that's like, where's the impetus from? I don't think there's this groundswell of fans who are like, oh, I can't go. I'm not going to go to games anymore unless the starter pitches in the 6th. I do think there are some owners who have the ear of the guy who works for them and they're like, fix this. And so he gets some guys in a room. Theo doesn't have to go to those anymore, right? He's gone. And like, all right, give me. There's no such thing as a bad idea. Well, good, because all we have are bad ideas. And then, and this is the best bad one they came up with was make them go 6. They just have to. Like, well, what if they can't? Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They have to. You just have to do it. We all have things in life we have to do whether we want to or not. Now for starting pitchers, that you got to pitch in the 6th inning.
I got it. It just came to me. The solution came to me. If you take your starter out before the 6th inning, the next pitcher who comes in has to pitch like 12-inch softball.
Just go underhand on every pitch.
Yeah,
that's fine. Because my thought was we just go coach pitch. Let's fucking sit. Let's Tommy Hotovy, this hot shot. Whoa, Tommy Hotovy's a genius. Well, let's fucking see it, Tommy.
Yeah,
actually, we did,
right.
and it wasn't good. We saw him pitch, and it didn't work. But now you have to. If Kyle Hendricks can't make it through the 4th. Oh, Tommy better get loosened up.
No, what you do is like in Little League where the coach of the team that's hitting has to go pitch.
Oh, yeah. Well, that would be good. Yeah. Well, Tommy could pitch to the Cubs. Maybe they'd actually score. That would be fun. But I'm all for one of my favorite rules in sports is when a player gets injured in basketball and they can't shoot the free throws, that the other team's coach gets to pick anybody from the other team to shoot the free throws. I don't know why. Yes, I like it to get such a kick. It never happens, but when it does, it's just the greatest. So that's what I think should be the rule. You got to go 6 innings. If you don't make it, then the other team's coach gets to pick anybody on the team. Doesn't even have to be a pitcher. It's this guy. Whoa, you guys need 8 more outs, huh? Well, let's see. We'll see if Ian Happ can pitch. Let's go nuts.
Yep.
Remember that time he wouldn't come in and play third base for 2 innings because Nick Madrigal got hurt? Well, now we're really going to make you uncomfortable. You're going to have to pitch.
Right.
I bet Ian Happ would love that. I actually think that.
I think he did one time in
he's
like
pitched.
2018.
Yeah. The guy who, we saw Rizzo. He used to beg to do it.
Right.
Then he got to strike out Freddie Freeman.
Yeah. Frederick.
Yeah, it is funny. The players would all be like, I want to do that until they got picked. Because it's a lot different coming in to pitch when you're down 18-2 in the 8th.
Oh, yeah.
As it is when it's 2-1 in the 4th. And you're like, I got to pitch how many innings? It's like, go get him.
Will you allow me a moment of sincerity?
We don't think this was sincere? What are we doing here?
We're in the trust tree here, Oleg.
I was one of the nice things about having MLB TV is that I get to see moments like when Freddie Freeman came back from his whole thing.
Yeah.
Like that was really truly nice. Like that was cool to watch.
What's his kid's name? Is Maximus?
Maximus.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That is pretty awesome.
We'll give him that.
Is his middle name Gluteus?
Maximum Gluteus.
He's actually going to change his last name to Power.
Nice.
Yeah.
Maximus Decimus Meridius Freeman. Is that what it is?
That's not what his name. You didn't just look at it. Because you looked away. I swear I thought you looked
husband to a Meridius. Yeah, I had to look it up. I knew it. I knew there was a Decimus. I would not have gotten Meridius.
Wait, is that seriously his middle name?
No, that's from Gladiator.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Although maybe it is. That would be cool. I'm going to just say this. I hope you can't look up the full name of small children on the internet.
Yeah.
I hope you really can't do that.
Yeah. I didn't even. Yeah.
Yes. What was the husband to a murdered wife and father to a murdered son? And I will have my revenge in this life or the next. Yeah. Can't wait for Gladiator 2 with the skinny little guy from that depressing English thing with Daisy Medgar Evers, whatever that guy's name is, Paul, whatever. That'll be fun. Yeah, so there's that. There's that their potential rule change, which I don't think is really going to be an actual rule change. We got that to look forward to, which is nice. I wanted to say the wild card races are heating up, but they're kind of not. The National League, it looks like the Padres and the Diamondbacks have run off.
They're simmering. There's residual heat on those wild card races.
And then the Braves continue to lose a player pretty much every day, which is fun. But I don't know how long Austin Riley's I didn't see, but I did see that they just signed Luis Guillorme, so that's fixed.
Yeah,
they're set.
Yes. Austin Riley's out for the rest of the year.
Is he?
Yeah, he's broke his hand or finger or something.
If only the Cubs could have pawned off Patrick Wisdom or David Bodie to the Braves, that would have been nice.
Still could. All you got to do is waive them. And there'll be a fight at the waiver wire for those two.
Yeah. I can't imagine that the Marlins will let that get by. I don't know.
Just imagine all the teams back in their little headquarters all gathered around. I assume it's ticker tape. There's a ticker in the thing, and that's how they find out if they got their claim or not. They're all just huddled around it like, did we get Wisdom? Did we? No. How about Bodie? We lost them both? Shit. Who got them? The Dodgers. Oh, shit. How did that happen?
It's like when Monty Burns is trying to field his softball team. Ticker.
Cap Anson, Mordecai Three Finger Brown. Yeah.
Napoleon Lajoie.
Yeah. They're all dead. Well, then give me some living players.
Harry Carey was a big Napoleon Lajoie fan. He used to bring him up. And I always thought it was just because Harry liked to say Lajoie.
Did he really? Because I think I was probably
he would wax nostalgic about Napoleon.
I think I was probably 38 or 40 before I realized that it was pronounced Lajoie and not LaJoie.
LaJoie.
Well, you pronounce it however you want.
He doesn't care anymore. I think I was the same way, Oleg. I felt...
Yeah. Lajoie. So I may have probably heard it and just never realized that it was the same player.
Such a great player that the Indians were actually called the Naps for a while, right?
It's true.
While he was playing for them
for a little bit there.
That's quite.
It's not really a surprise that we wouldn't know how to pronounce that because I don't know how many games he had on like the radio. I don't think there's too many Napoleon Lajoie highlights going around.
He was big, whatever it was, in the orphanage in St. Louis. He was very popular.
Right.
Harry was a huge Napoleon Lajoie fan. But yeah, so the Mets are only a game and a half behind the Barvs.
Yeah,
and then it's the Giants. The Cardinals have fallen flat on their beaks, which is just tragic. Beautiful. So sad.
Darn.
Amazing that the Eric Fetty, Tommy Pham moves didn't put them over the top.
Right.
Really thought that was going to cinch it for
when
them.
You need to shore up a team to make it a run for October, you call the White Sox.
That's right. Oh, yeah. You fortify with I was watching some Orioles and Mets, and Eloy was DHing for the Orioles, and he's number 72. Is that because 74 is taken with the Orioles? So he picked the world's worst number, so he'd never have to change it. And then he didn't get it when he went to the Orioles.
Is that Cionel Perez guy? Is he 74?
Is that right?
I'm looking it up now.
I mean, why wouldn't he be 74? I literally, I said this like 3 times now, but I literally laughed as soon as I saw Eloy dig in with 72. Because I'm like, who is this, Roberto Machado? And it wasn't. Former Cub great 72. It was...
Perez is only 58, so that ain't it.
Yeah, so maybe he just wanted to freshen it up.
I'm shocked. A guy who's not on the active roster, but their closer from last season, Felix Bautista.
There you go. Yeah,
could have still worn it while he was out. Come on.
I don't know how cool that is. Is that cool? I don't know. I might be stepping on toes.
If he's still on the if he's still on the team, you can't take his number, right?
I was going to say Eloy is used to stepping in places where he probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
The Orioles have a lot of guys in the 70s, though. Yennier Cano is 78.
They don't look that old.
Yeah, right. He's been pitching like it. Right? Levon Soto is 73. It says here Eloy is 72. So, yeah, I don't know.
But annoyingly, the Cubs, I think...
Felix Bautista. Their closer, who's hurt, 74. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right, we got to the bottom of that.
I think I heard that.
It's familiar.
Annoyingly, I think the Cubs 3 times last week could have passed the Cardinals, and they managed to lose all 3 times. They're just sitting there a half game behind.
Mm-hmm.
Was it against the Guardians?
Yeah.
Well, the first 2 1-run losses to the Guardians. At the same time, everybody else in front of the Cubs was losing.
Yeah.
Like it was their chance to they could have been 2 games behind the Braves if they'd have won those 2. Instead they fell back to
whatever.
If you pick up 2 games instead of 4 games. And now they're 5.5. And
something we've all noticed before, so I don't know if it's worth bringing up again, but there's the extra playoff spots don't really add any urgency, like at any level of the game, whether it's adding players to the roster, the trade deadline, or in the dugout, we got to win these, it doesn't seem like it heats anything up. So.
No, but it's more TV money for the owners.
Sure.
Makes it easier for them to spend less too.
I mean, to me, I think I would be less, well, maybe not, because I'm going to be pissed about it regardless, but to me, it's really annoying to me that the whole reason for when they kept tacking extra wild cards on, it was because they loved the game 163. They thought it was so cool whenever they had one of those that they wanted to guarantee one. And so now when they went to this playoff format, they've eliminated them.
Right.
You don't play any of that stuff off. You just have the stupid tiebreakers.
Yeah.
And not even a 1-game wild card either.
Yeah. Right. And it's 2 out of 3 all in the same spot. And it's nobody cares.
I mean, the 1-game wild card was stupid. Game 163, I get. I mean, who could forget 1998? But
yeah. I liked one of the 1-game wild card playoffs.
Yeah, one of them was pretty good.
The one in Pittsburgh when
the one where the
Jake
Cubs
just
threw.
Oh yeah, in 2015. That's
Kyle hit one into the river. And
that's right.
I was going to say, thankfully the Cubs just took the lead without Jake Arrieta even having to throw a pitch before, and then you just cruise the rest of the night.
Still the only game in postseason history where a pitcher had 10 or more strikeouts, a complete game shutout, and no walks.
Right.
Jake Arrieta, only one to do it. Up yours, Don Larson.
Don Larson struck out like three hitters, right? If that.
Yeah, it was all weird shadows and all kinds of stuff.
When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the vehicle owner's manual for important feature limitations and information.
Speaking of the Yankees, I was listening to another podcast. I don't know if people out there at home know there are other podcasts in this. I don't advise listening to them, but if you ever do. So Pablo Torre did one on Fritz Peterson and Mike Kekich.
Okay.
And it's about Dave Mandel, the former Seinfeld writer and Veep writer who actually wrote a script for the movie. There was this long rumor that like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon were going to make a movie about back in the early 70s, Yankee teammates. And the Mandel made this very clear. They did not swap wives. The wives swapped husbands.
Yeah.
Because everything else stayed the same.
Yeah.
The kids stayed with the wife.
Yep.
The dog stayed with the wife.
Yep.
Kekich ended up with a cat that he didn't want. They didn't move. The furniture stayed in the house. The only thing that changed were Fritz and Mike literally went to started banging the other wife, and they moved into the other house. And there's a Northern Illinois University connection there.
Do tell.
Fritz Peterson, and it played baseball at NIU.
Oh, really?
Yes.
He also coached baseball at Rock Valley College in Rock Valley.
Wow.
Back when they still had baseball at NIU. Wow.
So the part of the story I didn't know was that so this whole thing got kicked off when Kekich and Fritz were best friends. Teammates, best friends. They hung out all the time. They hung out with their wives all the time. And apparently one night they were all at a party and Fritz suggested to Mike that Mike drive. They had plans to meet at a diner after the party, have a little late night snack before they went home. And he suggested, why don't you take my wife and I'll take your wife to the thing. And Kekich and Fritz's wife didn't show up for like 2 hours. So then they get there, and that's what starts the whole, hey, maybe Kekich and Fritz's wife seem to be a better fit, and Fritz and Kekich's wife seem to be like, we have more in common or whatever. And so they eventually came up with the trade. At spring training, they told their teammates.
Okay.
So their teammates would know. Then they had press conferences 4 hours apart. Like Fritz went first, and then 4 hours later, Mike gave a press conference to answer all the questions. And Kekich apparently immediately regretted it. Like within days, he was like, I want to go back. I don't like this. I don't want to go. And Fritz is like, nope, fuck you. We're not going back. And they didn't say it, but it seemed very clear that Fritz apparently had a big crush on Kekich's wife.
Okay.
And knew that Kekich and his wife liked to flirt and thought, screw it. Let them go off. They'll bang. I'll end up with his wife. And so Kekich and this, I think they did get married, but then they got divorced. Fritz died last year.
Okay.
He'd been married to Kekich's wife the whole time for 50 years. They were together. Wow. There you go.
So were there divorces and stuff, or is it just like a deed transfer to a house? Like you just
No, they got divorced because then they both got divorced because then they both got married.
Well, Kekich
apparently
wanted to go back.
Kekich like right away was like, I think they got married like right away. I think they like did it.
Okay.
And then Kekich was like, I don't like this. I don't want to do it.
Because Fritz took all the whiteboards and all the footballs up with him.
That's right. Yep. That's right.
George Allen.
Yeah, just like George Allen and the Blitz. Yeah. It's very similar. Very similar trade. But yeah, so that whole thing was interesting and weird, and
so why didn't they make the movie?
It sounds like they would talk to a studio, and then the studio would be like, I don't know, do we really want to make this? And he joked that if they could repackage it so that Superman and Batman traded wives, then any studio would make it if you made it a comic book movie. But since it was just going to be about two Yankees from the 70s, they decided that it was never going to get made. But there is a script, and apparently Pablo got to read it and said it's really good. As if Pablo Torre knows. I don't know if he knows what a good script is or not. And Mandel said he'll make it tomorrow if somebody would buy it and do it, which I think is why he did the podcast. I think it was another way of getting it back out there. Maybe somebody will let him make the movie. But.
Did either one of Fritz Peterson or Mike Kekich ever become broadcasters later in their careers to the point where, they would point out, there's Mike Kekich and he's with my wife, just like Dennis Eckersley would do with Rick Manning.
Dennis Eckersley, Rick Manning thing is the greatest.
I mean, we laugh, but that wasn't. Isn't that what caused Eckersley's alcoholism?
I don't know if it caused it, but it didn't help.
It didn't help it. Yeah.
Yeah. It also got him traded
to the Red Sox, or no,
to the Red Sox, which then ended up with him coming to the Cubs. Right. So. But yeah, I mean, it's one of the most endearing things about Dennis Eckersley is the fact that he's on a Red Sox broadcast. They're playing the Indians. Rick Manning is in the other TV booth, and they show him. And Dennis is like, "Oh yeah," he said. Rick, we were teammates at Cleveland. He's still married to my ex-wife. Like it was just the most natural thing ever. It's like, it's more than that. Didn't he stole her from you, right? Yeah.
Wasn't there the first year of Marquee when like Mark Grace was still part of the broadcast every now and then, and I think him and Len were together, and Grace made some reference to like losing his wife to Ray Liotta on the broadcast, and Len just like he was like, "Very good, Mark, thanks," trying to just move it along the entire time. Yeah.
Yeah. So after the apparently, is that somebody's pacemaker?
It's the city of Des Moines, Iowa. It's buzzing.
It's buzzing. So apparently after when Kekich, that caused animosity between him and Fritz. They were no longer best friends. And so the Yankees traded Kekich to the Indians. And Fritz apparently had an agreement then with the Yankees that if they ever traded him, they wouldn't trade him to the Indians. They wouldn't just like start it all over again. And Fritz got hurt and he struggled. And then when they traded him to the Indians. But Kekich was already gone. He was off to the Mexican League by then. But yeah, so they both ended up getting traded to the Indians, but not together.
Man, that's just such a great. Like, I can't believe nobody would make that movie. I'd see it. It's great. That's a great story.
Well, maybe we can get Mike Pusteri in it. He could play Fritz.
There you go.
No, I thought Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were going to do it.
Well, if you could get Pusteri, why would you need Damon and Affleck? Although Ben apparently has a lot of time on his hands now.
How about Pusteri could play Bucky Dent?
He could. That'd be good. All right, so that's the National League wildcard picture. And over in the American League, and nobody's within 4.5 games of your Twins, Dave.
Yeah. My Twins, yeah.
Yes. Your Twins and your Royals. All your teams are securely tucked into playoff position.
Oh, boy, embarrassment of riches. Although the Royals and Twins are now tied for second place. I'm just noticing now.
Yeah.
So
I think the Royals went on a little bit of a slide, right?
They won 5 in a row.
No. I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago.
Maybe before that.
Yeah, maybe not.
Are you referring to when the Cubs went into Kauffman and took 2 out of 3?
I don't know what I'm referring to. It doesn't matter.
Let me ask you this, Dave. I haven't really been able to pay much attention to hot Minnesota Twins baseball this season. Do they still have the summer sausage in the dugout with them, or
that's a good question. We have not heard the mention of the sausage in a while, and it's funny. You would have thought the other day we would have, because the person who brought the sausage finally hit his first home run. Kevin, I'm having a senior moment for not so much of a senior guy, but the second baseman, who's the guy who I'm a good journalist, I swear. The guy who brought the sausage to the Twins finally hit his first home run. He's been hitting about 180 all season.
Kyle Farmer.
Kyle Farmer.
Oh yeah, I should have known that.
Yes.
So and they didn't bring it up. So I don't know if it's become a sore subject or what. But Kyle Farmer, the sausage man, finally brought the dong. And yeah, so he's still hanging around. But the Twins are actually they've been playing pretty well. I think most people are surprised at how well 20 games over 500 the Guardians continue to play. They're very
right.
They seem to be they have a lot of good luck. Cleveland
Guardians.
They don't hit the ball very hard. They actually aren't pitching that well.
Right.
It's kind of strange, but here they are.
I think it's the bullpen, right? Like the
bullpen has been great. Clase's been as good as any relief pitcher at the end of games, and they have Hunter Gaddis, who kind of looks like Hagrid from Harry Potter, and
Sandin, right?
Nick Sandlin.
Or Sandlin.
Side-arming cracker crawler, as Gabby Johnson from Blazing Saddles would say. So they have lots of good relief pitching, not so much starting pitching, and a very mediocre offense. Stephen Kwan continues to do well, and Jose Ramirez, and once in a while Josh Naylor, and that's about it. So
I think once in a while, Josh Naylor's been pretty good, right? Like
he's been pretty good. He's been pretty good, yeah.
Kwan ambushed Shota for a home run.
Yeah.
And when Jim Deshaies says that, it's like, so just swinging at the first pitch is an ambush? I don't really. Are you not allowed? I thought you were allowed to do that, right?
In the Jim Deshaies days, he wanted to have that first 88-mile-an-hour fastball over and not have to worry about somebody hitting it somewhere. So, yeah, from a pitcher standpoint, they're going to say.
In that series where the Cubs got swept by the Guardians, the Clase pitched in the first game, and Deshaies was like, Oh, that's 3 days in a row.
Yeah.
So we know he won't pitch tomorrow, and then they came out and he pitched again. He pitched 4 days in a row.
Stephen
apparently
Foley's not afraid to do that.
First pitcher to pitch in 4 save situations in a row since Edwin Diaz in 2018. And
nothing bad happened to him. So
Edwin did it twice that year.
Nothing bad happened to him.
No.
They made a big deal on the first on the Friday game. They made a big deal that Clase had pitched like 34 pitches in 2 games. I'm like, is that a lot?
That's not a lot. And I think that's why Vogt was willing to put him back out there, is that I think he threw like 10 pitches in that first game against the Cubs. And it's like, yeah, it was fine.
Like, I kept hoping that his stuff would diminish, right? Like, all right, 3 days in a row, maybe the Cubs can get to him, and then you're definitely kind of ruining him for the rest of the series. But
and then, like, nope, still throwing 103 cutter.
Yeah.
So
when he pitched in the All-Star game 2 years ago, he comes in to get the save, and he struck out the first guy in 3 pitches. Second guy, he's got 0-1, and the ump blows a call, calls it a ball, and Clase was pissed. You could see on the mound he was pissed.
Right.
And then he threw 5 more strikes in a row. He literally, his goal in an All-Star game, his goal was to throw an immaculate inning, and he would have. If the ump doesn't miss the call, he had 3 National Leaguers so overwhelmed that they had no chance. And you could see it on his face that he knew he'd gotten fucked and he wasn't going to get it. Because why else would you be that pissed at a 1? It's just 1-1, big deal. But he was like, he snapped the ball back and he's stomping around the mound.
He was a trade acquisition, right? What did he get traded for?
From the Rangers.
I believe that's right. Was it the Mariners? I don't know.
It wasn't for anyone good.
Well, it's not anybody that we can remember.
Clearly, yeah.
I gotta look it up.
Was it for Paul Sorrento?
I don't know if he goes back that
for Marty Cordova, I believe.
Oh, well, it was a big trade. He's actually been traded twice.
Okay.
The Padres sent Emmanuel Clase to. Oh, I see. That's part of the same deal. So it was Delano DeShields Jr. And Clase for Corey Kluber. So a name to remember for sure. That was yes.
Oh wow!
There you go.
5 years ago.
Classic example of Cleveland knowing the exact right time to trade a guy too, and getting max value for it.
Well, I mean, there's a reason why Carter Hawkins is a GM.
This is true.
Yeah. Oh, it's probably all Carter.
Yep.
He also somehow gets credit for them signing Jose Ramirez, which I have a feeling is just from years of Carter telling people that he was the reason they signed Jose Ramirez without any fact behind it. Just
was that like 17 years ago? Jose Ramirez.
Yeah. Carter was in middle school, but he knew a guy in Cleveland. He's like, he's just a guy you should sign.
Right?
Yeah, he's gonna be
Jose
great.
Ramirez has got to be 33.
Look at this fat little guy. He's gonna turn into an amazing player, and he did. So there you go. Oh, fun fact about Corey Kluber. Do you know he dominated I don't know if you knew this. The Cubs played the then Indians in a World Series in 2016. And Corey Kluber dominated the Cubs in 2 games, and then he came back on short rest a second time to pitch in Game 7. And do you know how many swings and misses he generated against the Cubs in Game 7?
I believe the answer is none.
The answer is none. He was shit from then on. The Cubs broke him.
Oh.
Actually, I don't know. He was amazing in that World Series, and the Indians. Thankfully, the Indians finally ran out of pitching. The pitchers were falling off their staff for the last 2 months of the season, and it took until Game 7 of the World Series before it finally caught up with them. But just in time.
The Guardians have Clase locked up for not literally, but his contract. I remember when he signed this deal. It was in Kansas City. I happened to be there. And this season, he's making $2.9 million. Next year, 4.9, then 6.4. And the team options for 27 and 28, only $10 million with $2 million buyouts. You figure if he's still pumping, he's going to be worth that easy. So
yeah, the Dolans are still going to trade him.
Andy, you got over on another one. Look at that.
Whatever you do, don't look up Acuna's or Albies' contracts.
Right.
Well, yeah, any contract the Braves give out is feels almost insulting to the players.
Well,
How's that Acuna deal working out for the Braves now? Huh? 2 out of the last 3 years, nothing. And then don't worry about the year in between with the 40 homers and the 70 stolen bases. We're gonna just pretend that didn't happen.
I mean, to be fair, they did pay Strider and Riley.
Who's the one guy they didn't pay? What's his name? It's at the tip of my tongue.
To be fair, there were 2 guys they didn't pay, but I know who you're referring to.
Perhaps
rhymes with Fansby.
Schmonson, yeah, that guy.
That's fine. No, it's working out.
I wonder why. Yeah. Well, they had Orlando Arcia. Of course, they wouldn't pay.
Yeah. Well, what do you need?
Let me ask you this, since it's relevant tonight. We have, a battle of 2 highly paid, underperforming shortstops.
I know what you're going to ask. Yes.
Yeah.
Before you ask the question, yes.
You'd still rather have Javi?
Yeah. Because I'm an idiot. Because I'm an idiot, but I love Javi.
Yeah, I would tell you this: I'd be all for them getting Javi back if the
Tigers want to pay all of it.
I don't care if Detroit does it or not. But
think about. I mean, if say you got him for David Bodie money, he'd be a great utility player. He literally is like above. He's excellent defense at least 3 infield positions.
Yeah.
Do you think?
And if you need a guy to come off the bench and swing out of his ass in the 9th inning at 3 pitches way out of the zone, Javi's your man. It'll be great. But occasionally he hits one.
The Cubs would make him not so terrible a hitter.
Yeah, it's been my theory, and I think on one of these podcasts I've voiced it, that Detroit was like the worst possible place that he could have gone. And it just exaggerates all of the flaws of Javi. The huge park that he just his whole solution to it is I'll just swing harder. And it's like, well, no, you make even less contact when you do that. And no fans. It's just right. And now they're starting to get kind of good, but he's basically played himself off of it. It's time and be like, okay, well, Javi, you go somewhere else.
They don't really have a shortstop in their mind, right? They seem to have a lot of
Don't they have Zach McKinstry?
They do have Zach McKinstry, yes.
He plays shortstop for him. They'll play anybody there. Javi was in traction for 2 months or whatever. They were picking fans out of the stands. They made Benetti play a couple of innings. He was actually better than you'd think.
What if they converted Javi to pitching?
Yeah,
the dude can throw.
That was or all those people who thought the Cubs should make Sean Dunston a pitcher too.
Oh yeah.
Same thing. Yeah. Look how hard he throws. Okay, well, it's not the same thing, but that's fine.
Yes, and it's only on 1 pitch.
But I'm sure it'd be fine.
Oh, Javi. I do like it. It's kind of fun watching the Twins. Well, sort of. But watching the Royals is fun, man. That Bobby Witt Jr. And they got a good pitching staff.
It is funny. Witt, when he came up and still has some traits as far as his swing and miss that you might think would make him vulnerable to slumps or would limit him somehow, but he doesn't strike out all that much. He makes it work. I think he's way better at home, which has people, wondering, is there like someone hiding in the fountains sending him signals or whatever?
But, the old
kind of half jokingly. But,
the old Christian Yelich. Yelich?
Yeah, right. Sure.
I always say his name wrong.
Yelich?
Why would I know what it is? And I think he plays the Cubs 13 times a year.
So, but yeah, he's it's just it's fun to watch him run the bases. Just that, he's as fast as anybody. So, first and third.
I do find it hilarious that Bobby Witt Jr. gets a pretty sizable extension where it's going to kick in 2028, or maybe the bulk of it will. But around the middle of it, he's going to make $36 million, $35 million a year. And this is coming from a team where they had always kind of been known as one of the poster childs of being cheap. And, they were one of the big spenders this past offseason.
Well, it's about time, too, because they took many, many years off. They were, when they were in the World Series and contending for it, they got to like 10th, 12th in payroll, which is, not insignificant for the Royals. That's the previous ownership. The last 5 years, though, I mean, they've completely taken they until this year, they completely taken off the off season, and it was just White Sox like poverty. And if they had been a little more interested in adding a player here or there, they might be in position to really win the division. And now it's not that they're not in position, but they would have been in a lot better position. So you take half a decade off, it is going to come back to haunt you in a way, because they had way too many holes to fix in one season. So, but they've done a good job of being contenders this year. It's about time. I think, like I've said before, it had to do with them wanting to put on a good face for a new ballpark or whatever they wanted.
Mm-hmm. Well, they got sort of lucky. They got sort of lucky with Lugo. I mean, nobody expected him to be this good, right?
Yeah.
But otherwise, I just have to say this. Bobby Witt's StatCast page is ridiculous.
Right.
It is. It's ridiculous.
Because he does all the athletic things well. And
he's like in the 98th percent. His slugging percentage this year is .616, and you're like, all right, maybe he's getting a little lucky, or .650. Maybe he's getting a little lucky. His expected slugging is .606.
Right.
It's just bonkers. This is yeah. If it wasn't for Aaron Judge,
I think and it would be key for somebody to kind of finish first because of the lack of a home game in the playoffs. If you don't. You can't just kind of sneak in there and get a home. That makes a difference too. So, but they're only 2.5 out coming in, so it could happen.
He should be MVP. I mean,
well, I think Judge is still
right. If Aaron Judge wasn't lighting the world on fire, he probably would be. But I mean, Bobby Witt is probably at this point, at least without Shohei being able to pitch, he's probably the most well-rounded player in baseball right now.
Yeah, maybe the most exciting, just if you think about
I mean, Bobby Witt's the best fielder in the American League, bar none. Like, he's incredible.
Yeah, better than Nicky Lopez?
Well. Is Nicky Lopez still in the American League?
He's White Sox, right?
Oh, again?
Yeah, I think so. I don't even know. Honestly, I don't know. I've seen 4 White Sox games.
Yeah. If you
they lost them all. Go figure.
Yeah.
If you take away, this was true a couple weeks ago. I don't know if it's still true. I'd imagine it is. But if you take away their 2 longest losing streaks, they would still have the worst winning percentage.
That's a great stat. I mean, it's horrendous, but it's a great stat.
That's almost as fun as if Tony Gwynn goes 0 for his next 1,200 or something. He still hits 300 for his career.
Right.
Yeah, well, if they activated him, he would.
Yeah, probably.
Wow. Nicky hitting slashing 242, 307, 291.
All right.
So, oh yeah. Those are Nick Magical numbers.
I was gonna say, don't let Jed see that and be trading for him.
The best thing, I think, he's got 5 steals and 6 caught stealing. So
good.
He's not making up for it on the base paths either. Just a good all around acquisition, obviously.
Mega Miro was between Pete Crow got picked off third the other day. So now he has he caught stolen base.
He didn't really get picked off. It was on that terrible bunt that Ian Happ.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Well, no, if you go back and look at the box score, it's a pick off.
Right, no,
he did get picked off at another point.
Yeah, but he came down the line because Happ tried.
It was Happ's fault. Of course it was. Of course it was Ian Happ's fault. Son of a
Ian Happ pulling a who's that White Sox guy from '83 that overran second base?
Jerry Dubzinski.
Jerry Dubzinski, yeah. Yeah.
It's funny how easily identifiable it is. Who's that White Sox guy from '83?
Yeah.
Jerry Dubzinski.
Yeah.
Hey,
I think the answer to every 83. If somebody says 1983 baseball, the answer is either Jerry Dubzinski, Lamar Hoyt, or Tito Landrum.
Yeah,
that's the answer. No matter what the question.
The question is, who did more cocaine than the '86?
Yeah. But so anyway, Megan had tweeted out like when he was, I think 23 for 23, and what a great start that was. And it somehow made me remember because he didn't get caught last year, right? Is that right?
No, he did, but he had a streak at the end of last year, and then he had the 23 this year. And she was going on about great starts to their career with fewest caught stealings. And I remembered that when David DeJesus, former great Cub and Cub broadcaster, who and Oleg is a big fan of Dave's wife, but who did you make us look up instead? And we all went, "Oh, she's okay."
Yeah,
because we were looking up the wrong wife. Yeah. Anyway. David DeJesus, I believe, was like 8 for 17 or something as a rookie. That's a good. But here's the fun fact. So I was watching, and that was when I was watching the Orioles and Mets before this. Ron Darling had this stat about the pitcher for the Orioles tonight, Dean Vernon Kremer. No more fun of any kind. He's 20. His career record of 27 and 29. In his wins, Dean Kremer's ERA is 1.64.
Okay.
In his losses, it's 8.19.
Is that?
It's an amazing difference between your wins. It's 7 runs between your wins and your losses.
I know it's usually kind of like that,
but not that.
And higher, but like
8.
that interval
maybe
is
be a difference of about like 3 or 4 runs, but
yeah, and it's over. I mean, that's I don't know how many starts. It's a lot of starts, and that gap is that big. Ron was very impressed by it.
I think I can ask someone to actually look up to see who is. I'm going to do it right now to see what the largest difference is. Because I'm not sure. Like that sounds like it's a huge difference, but I don't like. I would imagine, obviously, most pitchers would be way worse in their losses than their wins.
Here's a fun little fact for you that was pointed out to me by a friend a few years ago. Do you know what Jim DeShay's career win-loss record is?
Like 89 and 89 or so?
It's 84 and 95, and it's the same from like the years that he pitched, from 1984 to 1995.
There you go.
That's fun.
Wow.
Yep.
Wait, Jim? Yeah, I guess that makes sense. All right.
I definitely had Jim DeShay's. Jim DeShay's was definitely on my first fantasy team.
Wow.
Yes, in 1988, I would think.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
All right, so here's
soft tossing lefties.
Yeah. Here's Kyle Hendricks. So maybe it's not quite as bad as Ron Darling and I thought. Here's an amazing stat. In his wins, Kyle Hendricks 96-0. Never lost a game in a win. Also winless in his losses, though. That's a tough break. He's undefeated in his wins, and he's lost. He's never won in a loss. 1.66 in the wins and 6.74 in the losses. So
Okay.
his is what? 4
and a half.
A little over 5.
Okay.
5.08.
Okay.
All right, so maybe that's more typical.
Well, I mean, like it is a large difference. Like, I'm not suggesting that Kremer's isn't, it's a large.
Hey, don't blame me. Ron Darling was impressed by it, and he went to Yale. He went to Yale, for God's sakes.
He did.
I wonder what Ron Darling's is.
Well, let's look it up. It's probably be funny if it's worse. And maybe Ron was impressed at how close it was. Look at this, there's only 7 runs difference.
Who is the Texas Ranger? I'll ask this while you look it up, Andy. Dave will probably remember. Who is the Texas Ranger who made the All-Star team because he had like 12 wins at the All-Star break, but also had like a 5.2 ERA?
It sounds like Roger Pavlik. Are you thinking of Roger Pavlik?
Maybe. Maybe. Like this, I feel like it was maybe in the early 90s or late 80s.
Was it Bobby Witt's dad? I don't know.
So Ron Darling also undefeated in his wins, 136-0.
That's bar. That's got to be odd.
2.13 ERA in the wins, 6.06 in the losses.
Yeah, all right. So it's about.
So he's looking at the extra 2 runs on Dean Vernon Kremer, and he's like, "What the
Is
fuck?
that really?
Look at this.
That's not really his middle name. Is it?
No, but it should be.
Yeah, right.
Wouldn't that be great?
Dean Vernon Kremer. What's that from?
I can't believe that his ERA isn't 0.0.
Dean Vernon Wormer. I can't believe I threw up in front of Dean Wormer. Let's face it, you threw up on Dean Wormer. Ron Darling's middle name? Anybody got a guess?
Robinette.
I don't know.
Steve Miller would like it.
Jedi
Maurice.
Oh.
Ronald Maurice Darling. He was reminiscing about he pitched at Yale, and at the same time Frank Viola pitched at St. John's, and they dueled on a Friday night, and they went like 13 innings, and Darling got him 1-0.
Little Harvey Haddix action, jeez.
And apparently Viola used to tell a story about, so then on Saturday, the two teams play again. And he's like, I'm sitting in the dugout still with my elbow in a bucket of ice. And it's throbbing. I can't believe it. I look out and he goes, fucking Ron Darling is playing right field for Yale. He's like, how the hell is, I can't lift my arm above my head. And he's playing right field today. So
that's the Manfred dream.
It is. Ron Darling could have been Shohei before Shohei. Who knew? It's funny. Now, I guess we can probably wrap it up with this. We've gone on for long enough, but Shohei, it's amazing how dulled we are to him already.
Oh,
because if you just think about the fact that the guy is taking the year off from pitching because he had to have, he caught Tommy John disease again. And in his year off, he's just going to go 40-40 and win the MVP.
Yeah, he just decided that because he wanted to create more value for the team, he was going to steal 40 bases.
Exactly.
So he did.
It's like when someone goes blind, but all their other senses improve. Yeah.
I thought you were going somewhere else.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's like even now at my advanced age, when I play MLB The Show, I will occasionally create myself and just turn everything up to 99 and I'll play. That's Shohei in real life.
Yes.
The sliders are all on 99 for everything.
Bonkers.
And remember, kids, the Cubs offer to Shohei more actual current day value than the Dodgers. And Tom Ricketts was never so fucking happy that somebody said no.
So that clearly,
the day the Shohei said, no, I'm not coming.
That clearly means they still have that money available to spend on Juan Soto this offseason then, right?
Well, they have a whole bunch of money coming off the books.
Yeah. They gave it to Hap.
Signed him to an extension.
Yeah.
They bought all his coffee. Yeah.
No.
Now, Ian, would you take if we gave you another no trade, would you take an 8-year extension? Sure. All right, good. All right. Well, this was fun. Thanks, guys. And now we'll get back to we'll separate you again.
I still have no idea what that means.
And we'll get back to our regular, what?
What happens now? We'll talk about it later. What happens next week?
Next week, I talk to either you, and we got to figure out whose turn it is. I either talk to Dave or I talk to you two.
I don't think we fixed anything scheduling-wise by it being all together, but whatever.
Welcome to our production meeting on air, folks.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
I like it. It's a cliffhanger. They don't know who they're getting.
All right, right on. Good. I like it.
All right.
A mystery box.
Thanks, Andy.
Many of us have herpes.
No, I thought it generally sucked. I didn't think it was a specific suck. I thought it was like an all-encompassing type of suck. So, we're going to try and rectify that. But for right now, I'm going to be pretty pissed about it.
It's fitting. It's got to be done with one of the best games of all time. Just unbelievable. I mean, got to congratulate the Dolan family.
Sean, my podcast co-host Andy, you were his favorite player growing up.
Oh, thank you so much. Awesome.